So in the budget, we have government has projected a growth of 7 to 7.75. That's mainly because such a wide range has been provided, mainly because of the extreme volatility that is prevailing in the world economy today. But with a good monsoon, which we expect will happen this year, because that is the forecast, with the with the passage of GST, which also the government is very confident that it will happen in the monsoon session of Parliament, and the cumulative result of all the policy initiatives and reform measures which have been taken, I think this year we are looking at 8%. The manufacturing sector, going by the 15-16 data and the last quarter of 15-16 January-March data, manufacturing sector is doing well. The services sector is also holding on, and agriculture sector, which had entered into negative territory, is also now has become positive in 15-16. So this year therefore agriculture also will add to growth, and let us remember that agriculture will a good monsoon will add to to a good agriculture. It will also create a lot of rural demand, and the kind of expenditure which the government has announced, the kind of focus which government has given on agriculture and on the rural infrastructure sector, I think all these put together, if you consider, we are quite optimistic, and we are quite confident that there's a reasonable expectation that we'll touch 8%.
But one of the factors that contributed to higher growth in this last financial year is the fact that commodity prices were significantly lower, and therefore the GVA added to the higher.
You see, every year
this year, we are already seeing commodity prices trend higher.
You see, I mean, every year there are new factors, there are new developments. In one year it is commodity prices, in another year it is agriculture. So therefore there are some factors play a lesser role, some factors play a bigger role. So therefore we'll have to see how it plays out. Let's not.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about the NIIF fund,
Sorry?
sir.
Could you throw light on stress asset fund, sir, and what would the size of the total quantum of the
See, I don't want to go into the numbers with regard to the stressed asset funds, because they are already available in the public domain. Both the Finance Ministry and the RBI have spoken about it. Now, a number of measures have already been announced. The Bank Board Bureau is already active. The ARC regime has been liberalized, including the liberalization of the FDI with regard to the asset reconstruction companies. The government has promised a huge capital infusion. The banks on their part also are taking the necessary steps. It is work in progress, and the position was reviewed by the government, by the Finance Minister a couple of days ago. It is work in progress. Things are beginning to get under control, but a few more steps will be required, and they are being taken.
So the NIIF is almost set to be launched. From the way you were speaking, what are the investments you've been able to bring in so far, and how will it work, and what is the tweak?
One by one, no?
What
let her
exactly
complete.
are you looking to tweak in the investment framework?
You see, with regard to the NIIF, it was decided by the cabinet last November, and thereafter we have registered it as a category 2 AIF, Alternative Investment Fund, and also the other preparatory steps and other registration and other processes have been put through. We have assembled a small team by initially taking people on deputation from public sector banks. That is an interim arrangement, but we are also the process of selection of the Chief Executive Officer, the CEO, is in final stages. Very shortly the orders will be issued. With regard to the tweaking of the model of NIIF which you asked, now within the broad framework of the broad investment framework which was approved by the government and which has already been spelled out earlier, within that a few tweaking was necessary. Earlier we were considering NIIF to be a kind of a mother fund under which, underneath which there will be several sub-funds. Now we realize, after interaction with investors from both within and abroad, we find that there is equal amount of interest, perhaps greater interest, to co-invest in individual projects. Now, while co-investment in individual projects is important, what is also important is that the investors come into the mother fund, because their government equity will be only 49%. So therefore, we are now in discussion with various investors, and they will co-invest in individual projects, in individual infrastructure projects. At the same time, they will also invest in the mother fund. So therefore the underlying sub funds need not be some funds. They will be now more of them, most of them will now be close-ended schemes. There will be a scheme size, it will be notified, it will have a life of, let us say, 30 years or so, and during that period the money will flow into that particular scheme, it will be invested, the proceeds of that investment, the returns from the investment will be ploughed back into that close-ended scheme. So that is one kind of tweaking which has been done. Second thing is, we are also in discussion with a lot of domestic investors, because initially the impression was that only external investors like sovereign wealth funds, etc. will invest, but there is some interest within domestic investors also. So we are also in discussion with some domestic investors. Thirdly, the multilateral institutions, some of them have shown interest to invest in NIIF. So we are in discussion, and there is extreme keenness on their part to come into the NIIF. So that is why, taking all these measures together, and also let me mention that a few projects have been received, and we have shared the list of some of these projects with potential investors. Internally, we have done appraisal of some of the projects, and hopefully within the next few months the process of actual investment will start.
So could you specify a timeline?
Sorry?
Which countries, which sovereign wealth funds you mentioned, which countries can...
Yeah, we have already signed MOUs, as you know, with Abu Dhabi, with the Qatar Investment Authority. We have signed with the Rusnano of Russia, and there are 2 or 3 more which are in advanced stages, but I will be able to speak about them only when they are concluded.
So I wanted a more specific timeline, if you could give us, about when this fund will actually come up, because for a long time we've been hearing about investors showing interest in tweaking the models.
See, it is, please also let us remember that the decision was taken in November. So therefore, setting up a new institution on a very innovative model and putting things together, streamlining things, do take time. So naturally they have taken time. During the course of this year, in the next few months, you will see some good development.
Are the issues sorted out in terms of the past?
Tax, there is no issue. There is no issue.
So
Thank you.
Actual investment has to come via the mother fund. That is the...
Not necessarily. It can come via the mother fund. It can come directly into the
investment.
Into the close-ended scheme.
Closed-ended scheme. But as you said, part of the scheme, part of that investment has to go through the mother fund also, right? So 20% of what percentage of that?
That will be a flexible model.
Okay.
The system, the framework has enough flexibility to make it, to make it customized for individual investors. Thank you.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.